This is Gene Adam, former lead singer of Iced Earth. Be sure to subscribe to Podcast and Stone, and don't forget, join our community on social media. Metal lives.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Iced Earth community, welcome to Podcast and Stone, the only podcast 100% dedicated to iced motherfucking Earth. I am Jason. I am joined, as always, with the incomparable Chuck Hoskins. I apologise to headphone users, but we're celebrating 30 years. I know we're not quite yet, because it came out in November 1990, so we're not quite there yet, but we thought, let's just do it. Let's do an episode, 30 years of Iced Earth's debut album, Iced Earth. Chuck, how are you doing today?
It's a nice summer day today. It was a nice, relaxing Sunday. The temperature was down. There was no worries here. It's a good day to talk about an awesome debut album and the beginnings of the greatest band of all time.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it put them on the map if you don't count Into the Realm, but you know, everyone's got to have their first full length, and this was Iced Earth's, and still one of my favourite albums in the catalogue, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
This is one that's been a grower for me over the last couple of years. I mean, it's really, not that I didn't like it before, but it's really stepped up there and made us peak this way into the top 4 for me, really.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, definitely. We did our album rankings a while ago. No doubt they've probably changed for you. Over the years they changed. Like something will drop a place, something will raise a place. Is how it goes with these, when we rank albums. But the debut album's always been like top 5 easy. And I still think, like, you know, almost 30 years on, it still holds up. It still sounds immense, in my opinion.
You know, I was listening to it yesterday with headphones, and Colors was on, and I was like, man, it doesn't sound dated. It sounds like something that could be out in today's metal world. It's that still, it's there, you know. It's that relevant is the word I was looking for. It's aged like a nice fine wine.
See, I can never relate to that phrase, because I don't like wine. But anyway,
I don't either.
Yeah, like the debut album for me, like I kind of feel like that this was the debut. Iced Earth's debut album was one of the last like metal albums to really have that kind of sound, if you get what I mean, because it had that kind of dark sound with a lot of complex songwriting. People might eat me alive in the comments for this, but I feel like you don't really hear albums that sound like that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, it has a certain vibe to it that I just don't think you get anymore from more modern kind of bands. Even bands that try to harken back to the late 80s, early 90s, you still don't get that particular vibe anymore. And I think Iced Earth's debut was probably one of the last albums to have that kind of vibe, and I think that's what makes it hold up, because it still sounds fresh, because you don't get that sound anymore from metal.
To me, I listened to it, and you definitely got the Iced Earth signatures on there, things that would always stick with them, as far as the progression on the songs and just excellent songwriting and epics right off the bat, you know, which we'll get track by track. So it's such a unique album that, you know, it's so funny. I just remember years ago, you know, when I first became an Iced Earth fan, you know, there wasn't a lot of television as far as YouTube and stuff, so you didn't get to see them, and you were just familiar with the Matt and, you know, and the John stuff, and then like Greeley and Adam was these two things that were like, they were like popes that you didn't see. You knew they were there, but it was such a shadow over it, and it was so unknown about them, and it's cool now that we can find out more about those eras, and of course, knowing Gene, it's so much cooler. Like I remember looking at the old pictures, and like some of them when I was a new fan, John's the only one I could pick out. Like I think that's Randall, that's Dave. So, it's just funny thinking back to when I was a young fan, how this period of the first album was just so unknown to me. So.
Yeah, man. I remember, like, it's weird. It's really funny how things have played out recently over the last couple of years, especially when it concerns our podcast and just everything that's related to our podcast, Gene, Adam, and John, and everybody like that. Because I remember thinking way back when I got into Iced Earth, and obviously the debut album was the first thing I heard, which is quite odd if you think about it. Because the band was 10 years old, and the first album I listened to was the first album. That's not usually what happens, right? Usually you'll discover a band with their newer stuff and then go backwards. But I discovered their first album and kind of went forward a little bit, skipped a little bit in the middle, then went backwards, then went forward again. So I had a bit of a weird kind of progression of how I discovered the band. But like I remember, like, because like usually when musicians leave bands, they usually go on to other bands, and they have like a paper trail of what they've done since. Gene Adden never had that, and I was like, I wonder where he's gone. And it's just like he just disappeared, and the fact was he generally did disappear off the grid. He didn't do anything after that. He just went off and just lived his life. And I think I just remember always thinking, like, what happened to Gene Adden, man? What happened to him? Now we know that he was so upset about the events leading up to his exit and his exit in general, that he kind of locked everything away in like a storage cubicle, whatever, and was like, that's part of my life done. But now he's been thrust back into the circle, doing parts of, I guess, our podcast, which I don't want to gloat about too much, but it's fact, I suppose, right? Even sure. John says it's part in due for us. But so yeah, for him to like not be really in the circle for all these years and then just be thrown back into it. And I think I generally do think that his re-emergence within the Iced Earth community has made the debut album even more relevant, and people are just like, I think a lot of people are discovering its merits, including Gene Adams' vocals, which we've always harped on, that we think that they suit the music for the time. Even if it came out now, I still think Gene Adams sounds really good, but that's just me.
Well, we heard that a year and a half ago with the Purgatory EP. I mean, that music sounded so fresh, and those were old demos from the '80s, and just how awesome they sound.
That's the thing as well. Like when people talk about re-records, and there's people going like, "Oh, I hope they re-record this." I actually had a thought of like, what if, like, I know with I'm just fanbooking like a mental person right now, but like if you think about it this way, right? Gene's told us that the recording process for the debut album was a very, very, very limited. They had limited time to get it done. They had, literally he had to get, the songs sung within like a take or two, right? He didn't have long to put down the vocals, and John's also said John didn't have the time or the knowledge to really kind of train him for what he kind of wanted to get out from the vocals. And when I think of like, oh yeah, re-records, I would love just to hear a re-recorded version of one song, say Iced Earth, for example, where John and Gene can take the time to really get the best out of Gene, like they did with the Purgatory EP, because Gene sounds phenomenal on that EP. Can you imagine a re-recorded Iced Earth with Gene?
I have many times. Yes,
because I just feel like, yeah, I still think he sounds great on the debut from that from the time period, but I can imagine him sounding, like you said, we've already heard it, but I can imagine it just being what do you call it? Fuck, I can't. My brain's not working. It's Chuck. I think it will solidify and justify how good Gene is if people could hear these songs done today with Gene's improved voice, because his voice has improved a lot since then.
Well, throw on top of it the technology and production that can be done now. I mean, technology's changed so much in 30 years. So, just the mastering. And this is something we kind of briefly talked about. John mentioned in the, I don't think you called it the Facebook Live chat that he did, that he was wanting to not do a remaster, but a remixing of the first album.
Right, yeah.
For the 30th anniversary. So I really, really hope that happens.
Because
I'd love to see it come out with a new punch. And I say that, but go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I would really like to see the European artwork be recolored as well, because I think it'd look immense if it was recolored. Because I love it anyway. I still think it's a great, the green and the red and the kind of pinkish colour. The cover art, this looks great, but I think if it was like, if they somehow got the original pencil, the original line art, and then actually got it recolored, I think it would look immense.
Now, see, my favorite is, I call it the Fallen Angel cover is my favorite. To me, that's the one that I knew when I first started. That's the one I bought on CD, and that's the one that, to me, that's the original.
See, I'm controversial. That's my favourite artwork, but that's because it was the first one I saw.
I like it.
I think it's
I
great.
wish that they would have done those different covers on vinyl, but
yeah.
So my favorite is the this. So but yeah. So 30 years. I'm hoping. Although I was just recently complaining about reissues, I'm ready for new music. I think this is something that production-wise could use a little punch. So I hope that there's a 30th anniversary, one, throw it out on a nice CD and vinyl. But I mean, like you said, he had mentioned one time with some of these reissues, maybe doing a bonus track with John or Gene, and if him and Gene did it, just one bonus track, to me, that makes anybody that doesn't have it say, I've got to have that, because it's got written Walls 2020 or whatever.
I was going to bring up in my opinion, as much as a Nice Earth fan, I was like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to have a nice, I don't know, like a 30th anniversary reissue, whatever. But like, if I'd be realistic about it, it doesn't really need a reissue. The 2015 vinyl is really good.
Yeah, but if he remixes it, he explained the difference between remastering and remixing.
Yeah, I know.
So if it gets
it's changing the levels of all the instruments.
Yeah, I think it would help it. So
yeah, but
it'd be a nice 30th anniversary thing that would be minimal, work for them. I think.
I was just using the example of the Enter the Realm reissue. For me, in my opinion, that was a much needed reissue because it was so limited. Unless you had the Dark Genesis box set, the Slave to the Dark box set, or the original tape, you wouldn't have been able to get that. So I felt that was a really good, necessary reissue. But like you said, if he's gonna remix it, I think it might sound even better. Do you think it's John? He's gonna make it sound killer, right?
Right. I think with the resurgence of vinyl, you almost had to, and maybe with the Purgatory, coming off the Purgatory EP, the Gene era was in such a soft spot for him that, maybe it helped promote the Enter the Realm stuff. I think with the vinyl resurgence, it was a great idea. Everybody's well pleased with it, and the cover art was amazing for it. Of course, I still like the original too, though. There's something about that one. So, so our opening episode was on this album, and I tried to watch it, Jason, and to me it was just so lost and just...
Seriously, man, it was like over 2 years ago. What do you expect? It was our first episode. I think it's funny because I think we knew each other for about a week, right? And we didn't plan. We didn't have any plan. We were just going to spitball it, which we pretty much did, right? We had no charisma, like none. I'm surprised we even got fans off the back of that first episode because we had no charisma at all. It was hilarious.
I remember expecting to see maybe 15 to 20 people watch it. And two years later, it's at like almost at 25 or something like that, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
2,500, which is amazing. I'm thankful for everybody that's watched it, and I also apologize for. But I mean, you got to start somewhere. Everybody's first episode of a podcast is awful, probably. So, hopefully, if you're watching this, you think that we've gotten better over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, but just for shits and giggles, go back and watch that first episode.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't mind the intro with Cast in Stone in there. That was kind of cool. And then, but now I'm so used to the Gene Adam intro. It seemed weird when I watched it. I'm like, that's not our intro.
Yeah, getting Gene to record that intro. I mean, it's the coolest thing, right? You know,
So
like
that's
it's the fucking coolest thing. Like, I don't know. He's just got this like. Harry's not like he's on the radio. I don't know. He's got that voice where he could literally be like on a metal radio show and just introduce songs and talk about artists and that. I think it'd be fucking great. He's got that voice for it. I think he's very smooth when he talks, man.
You say that, but I watched him in a live feed yesterday at a coffee house in Florida, and they were not playing metal, and he still was well with the crowd. So
there you go. See.
So one of the most metal things you could do is not always be metal, in my opinion. I always love that, this is my soft stuff, like it or don't. So
I'm constantly posting stuff that's not metal on my Facebook page, on my like personal Facebook. Like, I'm into synthwave. There's bands that are sort of metal, but not really, and there's people who probably call them, they're a bit emo. I like what I like, so everyone's into something that's not metal. You can't just. I think being into one genre of music must be boring. If that's all you're into, it must be kind of boring.
Sure. For me, it would be like, I love horror movies, but I like the occasional comedy or superhero movie. I don't want to watch horror movies every day of the year.
I mean,
still
I would.
My favorite genre.
I mean, I would.
Yeah, it's still my favorite genre. But I like a good laugh too.
Yeah.
So yeah, 30 years. I think it's aged excellently. Sometimes I listen to Storm Rider and wonder, what it would be. Do you ever do that? Listen to the album after a person leaves and wonder what they would sound like. I've done that when I listen to Storm Rider, just to, for the Gene stuff. And I've done it for every lead singer that leaves, wonder what they would sound like.
Yeah, like I could say for example, Dystopia. I can, if I put that on, even though I absolutely adore what Stu done, still do. It's still like my second favorite album ever, like by the bands. But like, just those melodies, like they're just so ideal for Matt's baritone. I can't help but think like Matt could nail that the melodies on that record. That's just me.
Well,
like,
when you got John writing them, that's the that iced earth core that that we love. So when we did our retrospective on the self-titled album last time, we didn't have any game plan, we didn't have any notes, so we didn't do a track by track.
We only knew each other for a week, so we hadn't kind of gelled properly.
Do you remember the first album we did track by track?
I think it was Dark Saga, but I could be incorrect.
I was actually thinking Dark Saga too.
I think it might have been Dark Saga.
So with the 30th anniversary, I say we go ahead and go through track by track, and then we're going to show a few pieces off of our collection, and here's some community feedback.
Track by track, Chuck. Okay. You know how we say we always say Iced Earth just are the masters of picking the perfect opening songs. On their first album, they did just that, Iced Earth.
Now, see, I disagree. I don't think it was the first. I don't think it was the perfect opening track. I love it. I think I would have went seventh with it, but that's just me.
I mean,
so Iced Earth.
I mean, you know, for me, the perfect opener for an album is, or the perfect 1-2 punch should have been Enter the Realm into Colours, because that's the Enter the Realm does that, and that's perfection. Exactly. But like, they didn't do that, so we got to accept it. And I think Iced Earth is a good. You know, think of it, if this is the first time someone's hearing Iced Earth back in 1990, yeah, if you hadn't heard if you're someone from 1990 that hadn't heard Enter the Realm, and this was your first introduction to the band, that first song of their first album, Iced Earth, their namesake, I think it's a fucking just exceptional.
You know what? Look, with that argument, that is well said, Jason.
It's an exceptional. What's the word? Fuck, I forgot the term.
It's a wonderful introduction.
Introduction, yeah. I see it. It's a wonderful statement of intent from the band, right, man. You know, and it's got my favourite riff of all time. Favourite riff ever. It's the best riff. Sorry, but fight me in the comments. It's the best riff ever. I'll fight you. I'll fight you all day long.
I think the reason why Iced Earth is my favorite band is because I've had bands I've listened to since I was a kid, and that's, like Kiss and Metallica and Maiden, and some of their big hits I get tired of hearing. Like, I think One is a great song, but if they'd left it out of the set list for 5 years, I'd be okay. Mm-hmm. Iced Earth is a closing song or statement that there's never been a time I'm like, oh, it's Iced Earth again. It's that fresh, and no other band keeps that freshness for me. I could go the rest of my life without hearing Rock and Roll All Night and I'd be okay, but when I hear Iced Earth, it's like, yes. And it's for the 10,467th time, and it's great.
Yeah, I think I've been into a lot of bands, as you said, as you, Chuck, and I've had many bands that I love, but they, if not nearly all of them, have fallen off for me. Like, my favourite band before I discovered Iced Earth was In Flames.
Okay.
And then, it's quite funny because the year 2000, which was the year I discovered Iced Earth, In Flames released their best album and my favourite album by them, called Clayman. And I don't think they've topped that album since, so they've fallen off in my opinion. But Iced Earth, there's going to be albums I prefer more than others, but I can put any of them on, maybe except one, you know what I'm talking about, but I can put the majority, 99.8% of the records on by Iced Earth and be pretty much not be bored at all. Just be entertained and enjoying my listening experience. There's no other band that I can really say that does that for me.
I agree. So Iced Earth is a concert staple. It's a great closer. They actually didn't do it on the Incorruptible tour. They gave it the year off. But it's the perfect song. I love John's spoken part. I love the breakdown where then it stops and then they pause for a minute and then it takes off with that rip.
Fucking gallop.
The gallop it's an amazing song. It's timeless. I've enjoyed it with I think there's a clip on YouTube with Greeley singing it. I've heard Ripper, Matt and Stu. It's a song that's universal, and it sounds great all along, but you gotta love the original.
I will say this, as we've seen, we've heard a lot of pretty much every singer go at it basically. I was really surprised how much I like the Ripper doing it because I think he does a good job. It's very different because he's got very much that Halford kind of vocal, but I really like the Ripper version. I know you only got it on like the live shows.
Yeah.
But I've got the. I've got the live show from 2004 when he was on the Glorious Burden tour, and he fucking nails it. So good. But so different as well.
Shined on the Dark Saga stuff myself. I thought he sounded terrific on it. But like you said, we only got him on 2 tours, so we didn't get to see him go into a lot of deep cuts as far as stuff that I don't know whether that was they tried stuff or of course we're on a Ripper tangent on the original episode on the Gene Adam self-titled. We do that.
Fuck's sake, but
I digress. But anyway.
But yeah, the point being, like you were saying, is basically, every era, this title track Ice Stuff has been very relevant. Basically, is what you're saying.
So it's
gonna keep saying it.
It's a great opener. Like you said, you talked me into it being a great opener.
It's got the
best. I think it's the ultimate
best riff
closer.
Ever. Best riff ever. Just gonna keep saying.
Whenever we do the last concert ever by Iced Earth, I want that to be the last song. I think that would be the last song that's ever sang at an Iced Earth concert. Just my opinion.
The last Iced Earth concert ever. Yeah, you mean the last date they ever played, the last ever show before they hang up everything.
The last song that they strap on and then they take the guitars off forever. I think it's going to be Iced Earth.
He needs to get Gene to sing it. I'm sorry, but it needs to happen. It needs to be the most legacy of legacy things ever, and it needs to get Gene. Gene needs to be on that tour for that one song, and he'll nail it. It needs to happen, man. Come on.
I don't see it happening as far as a tour, but I'd love one final collaboration. I mean, just in today's world where it's hard enough to move 5 people along, and we're fan booking it. Would I love to see all 5 singers come out and represent their era? Who would?
Yeah.
But could that happen at one time? It's a possibility. I'd love to see it happen once. Videotape it. Do it in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Honestly, now, like we're on a subject of that, just Iced Earth being the last song of the last show, with hopefully every member kind of like representing, like especially the singers representing kind of the band, the time of the band. Like there's been no higher chance of that happening than now, because everybody that sung in Iced Earth are on good terms with John. John's been in contact with Ripper. He obviously Stu's like his best friend. He's been in contact with Greeley. He's still in contact with Matt, obviously, and he's a couple of years ago reunited with Gene. And it's like, yeah, like it works out.
I'd love to see it. I think it's more realistic for a one-time show DVD it. I say there's no way they're going to put those guys on a thing and take them across. First of all, there's 700 members of Iced Earth, so they'd have to charge $10,000 a ticket to put all these people on the tour. So anyway, I'd love to see it happen. I think that there'd be a better chance of a one-off track for a reissue than a tour. And so. And you know what? We forgot to mention the lineup for this awesome album. If you don't know, is John Schaefer, Gene Adam, of course, and then you got Randall on guitar, Dave Abell, and Mike McGill. So what a classic lineup! And the red flags of the turnover on the group members we should have seen already, because you've already lost Bill Owen, and you've already switched bass players, you've already switched drummers and guitarists. So already going from the EP to the first album, anybody following the band had to see that this was probably going to be something that kept going and going. Which, I mean, it's part of the part of the legacy, part of the story. But hopefully we're done with that stuff now. But anyway, I just wanted to mention the wonderful lineup we had for the first album.
Yeah, like they are passionately known as the original five. You know, not the Jackson Five, the original five. Right, get it right, people. That's how they are passionately known as.
Well, the original album five. You know,
yeah, the original five. They're not the original five, but they're in my mind they're like debut album original five.
Debut album, yeah. So that takes us, that long shortcut that we just took brings us to track 2. Written on the Walls. This was a song that I always was curious about until we got to talk to John about it. It was one that was on the album, and then it sounded awfully familiar on Days of Purgatory, but not quite familiar. So this was, lyrics was written by Gene, and he gave it to Matt for Days of Purgatory, and it became Cast in Stone, which is this podcast's namesake. What are your thoughts on Written on the Wall?
I love this song more than Cast in Stone, which is ironic because we're named after that, but it's a cool, fun pun that we chose to take. Yeah, I love this song. I love the lyrics. I think it's a really cool story that, you know, they're telling, you know, about, you know, it's written on the walls. Yeah. I love the vocals on it. I think the vocals are fantastic. The I don't know whether I can't, without listening to it again, whether whether it's got the most riffs in it or not. Cause it changes a lot. There's a lot of changes in this one, and it's just really good, really coolio. I've got a fun story about being confused between the two, Cast in Stone and Written on the Walls. Back in the day, you know, MySpace. Do you remember MySpace, Chuck?
Sure.
Long dead now. But you know, I was on, before Facebook was a thing, I was on MySpace, and iSturf were on MySpace, and I assumed that they were the official iSturf, so I sent them a message, you know, asking them, because I was a young kid, like an idiot. I was like 15 at the time, so I was like, why did John change the lyrics to and the name to Written on the Walls? And they just sent me a reply saying, oh, it's just better, isn't it? It's just better. I'm just like, but it's not. But it's not though. Written on the Walls is better. And they were like, and he said something like, oh, John didn't like it, they changed it. And I was like, oh, okay. But that's what they said, and I realised that they were talking shit, and they weren't the official page.
That's a great flashback to MySpace. Thank you for that stroll down memory lane. Written on the Walls is an awesome track. Actually, as much as I love this, my favorite version of it is if you look up Gene Adam on YouTube, he did an acoustic version of it, and it's just him and a guitar, and like, just, you got to take a few seconds before you hear it, obviously, from all those guitars and, you know, drums and stuff, to just an acoustic guitar. But I liked it so much, I actually paid a guy I worked with to burn it from YouTube onto a CD so I could have it in my iPod, and I listen to it all the time. I love that acoustic version of it. It's one that you wouldn't pick out and say this is be great acoustic, but it just works so good. Gene still sounds so great on that one. And
Gene can correct us if I get this incorrect, but I'm sure I heard either from him or from somebody that Written on the Walls began as an acoustic song originally. Yep. Then he brought it to iSturf and it became the metal track that we know. I'm correct on that, yeah? Because I wasn't sure if I had it mixed up with something else, but...
So, yeah, like I said, my oldest memory of Written on the Walls is just a confusion between that and Purgatory. Like, you know, that's it, but it's not. So I always used to wonder about that. since I've grown more attached to the self-title, I don't listen to Purgatory as much. I don't dislike it. I just don't listen to it as much. I don't avoid it if I get it on random or whatever, but to me these are the better versions of the songs.
Yeah, I generally never listen to Days of Purgatory, even though the vinyl that I've got is really nice. It's got a nice orange. Ironically, I think it's the worst Iced Earth vinyl in terms of sound quality. The kick drum on it is way too loud. It just doesn't sound very good mix wise. But yeah, I never listen to Days of Purgatory. I'd rather listen to the originals, like, you know, of those songs that were on the debut.
I understand why he did it at the time, you know, with the record labeled, you know, being happy with Matt after Dark Saga, you know, saying, you know, let's do it. So I understand it. I actually love the Tory artwork, but you know, I love that there's both. And if they did a 30th anniversary that did a remixing of the first one and added a third one with Stu, I'd be happy to have that third version of all these songs. So I mean, the songs are great. So Written on the Wall, if you have not looked it up, go to Gene Adam on YouTube and watch that version of Written on the Wall. It's amazing. Just him and his guitar about 2 years ago, I think, and it sounds great. So that brings us to a track that we've already discussed, Colors. I'll go into it, and I know you're going to say the same thing. I love this version, but to me, my favorite version was on Enter the Realm. They're just slight differences. And to me, how I would have started this album would have been Enter the Realm into Colors. So I guess that's just my favorite way that you know, Enter the Realm. I remember getting, you mentioned Dark Genesis earlier. When I got that box set when it first came out, and I heard that for the first time, I was like, whoa, you know, what a killer intro, you know. It was just a great start. I love the song. I don't know why they've not brought it back in a live setting. I think it's well good enough to, you know, to do that live. I'm surprised that they've never brought it back. It was last probably sang in the Athens era.
Yeah,
you know.
I listened to the reissue Live in Athens, and they've kind of like retroactively slotted it in on the vinyl. Yeah. And I remember just like, I forget what song it's in between, but one song would end and he just goes, "This next one's called Colors." I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this is fucking on it. And the thing with Colors, what I love about Colors is it's inspired by one of my favourite films, which is The Warriors. And it's inspired by that movie. Have you seen The Warriors, Chuck? Oh man, such a good movie, man. Such a good film. Warriors, come out and play. Anyway, it's inspired by that film, and it's just, yeah, the lyrics just speak to me because I just think of that movie. Fun thing to me. This is a song I think of when someone says old school Iced Earth. I think of Colors. It's a song that I instantly gravitate to. When I want old school Iced Earth, I listen to Colors with Gene Adam. Be it Enter the Realm version or this version, doesn't matter. Either one will do. So yeah, to me it's just great riffs, hungry vibe, awesome inspiration. And you know, all the way back, debut album, John was heavily inspired by movies. You know, it's just something that's carried on throughout his whole career. It's really cool.
And it's got a really cool video too. Like it's so cheesy and cool, you know.
I watched the one where they're like kind of like part interviewing John in between it. But there's a bit with Gene, he's in his car, he's like, hey there, hey there, a nice camera, bro. And he goes, I think I'm done here. I'm going to go far. He just drives off because I think he just doesn't know what to say on camera. I thought it's funny.
That's so cool.
Like,
I wish they
could
have added that on one of their home videos.
I don't know how.
I'm sure it has to do.
I don't know how old he was then, But I don't know. It's just, to me, he hasn't changed a bit, man. You meet him in real life, he's just the same dude. Like, he hasn't changed. Like, it's just
a little less hair, and he started wearing full shirts. Stopped wearing those half shirts that he used to wear all the time.
Yeah, that's a cool little kind of interview video, because you see John talking mostly, but you get a little bit of Gene in there trying to talk. It's quite funny. Charming is the word. Charming.
There's a decent video on YouTube. I mean, quality for it never being officially released. So I'm sending you back to YouTube. If you haven't seen the video for Colors, go check it out. I every time I see it, it shows up in my suggestions. Sometimes I watch it. I'm like, that's so cool.
They're in their practice kind of like garage place, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you see like fucking Randall with his hair just like. I swear there's a similar one with Desert Rain, right? A similar video.
Yes, and Desert Rain was done, and actually and Mike McGill told me this, even though he was out of the band, I think they were already in between drummers again, and he came back and filled in for it. So a little bit of history for you. Mike McGill, who wasn't on Night of the Storm Rider, within that video for Desert Rain. And that one, the quality isn't as good. The Desert Rain quality is, you can tell it's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. I wish that...
got a cool thing that Mike McGill
sent
me.
That.
I forgot about it until we mentioned Mike McGill, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck me, I got that. He sent that to me, he signed it, that's pretty killer.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
So, Mike, you mentioned Desert Rain. So Desert Rain is not as much of a good quality, but I wish somebody would release those. Those are pretty cool. So, Colors, great video, great vibe. Add it to the next set list, please, John.
Definitely, 100%. Give me Colors.
Yes. Curse the Sky. Go ahead.
My favourite song on the album, man. So good. So good. Once again, another song that's never in the set list as far as I'm aware.
No, they brought it out. Was it the horror show? I think they did it in Europe in the horror show.
They did it in the horror show tour. But also, John was saying they apparently brought it out in the previous tour before, the Plagues of Babylon tour or whenever, something like that. But I don't even know. They didn't do that when I saw them on the Plagues tour.
Yeah. And maybe it was one of those weird ones, like when they did Come What May and on the Dystopia tour. They probably only did it a handful of shows. So, but yeah, it's kind of been ignored live. It's a awesome song. Good Lord, it's just so catchy, and Gene's vocals on it are perfect. It's aged well. It sounds great.
The main riff is awesome as well.
This is the one that was skipped on Purgatory, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't redone with Matt. No.
There was a couple that, and nobody seems to know about that. That always troubled me. Like, if you're going to do it, do it. But it was skipped on there. I think it sounds perfect. I think it's definitely a highlight. It's not my favorite track on the album, but it's definitely a highlight. So, Curse the Sky sounds great. Why? Fucking sounds great.
Yeah, so good. Next up, we have a deep cut that many people kind of really want. Out of all the deep cuts, I see this song the most when it concerns people wanting to hear this again in the set list. Is Life and Death.
Yeah, Life and Death is probably my treasure of this album. I love the intro, the slow acoustic intro, and then I think that Gene's kind of spoken word is just makes that song. I came into this world. It's just it flows so good. I love this song, and then once it takes off, and there's a video of this also on YouTube. Yeah. Weird, it's got some guy running through the woods and crap. I can't tell if that's Randall or not. Is it? If you're watching this, I think
I've seen that video.
It's out there. I YouTube Iced Earth for years, so but it's just such a rocking track. I love, like I said, I love the kind of the spoken word. Then when it takes off, it just doesn't look back, and just the riffs on it, and it's just a tremendous song, and I love it. I would love to hear it live.
Yeah, man, it'd be killer. This is probably the only song on the debut that I actually prefer Matt's version.
Oh, okay.
Particularly that beginning part. I think Matt's vocal delivery on that opening part. I came into this world. Like, I just think it just gives me goosebumps, man, all the time. Like, I still love the original. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that soft original part, just that part, I prefer Matt. The rest of it, the thrashier side of it, Gene is still king.
Cool. So Life and Death is my hidden gem on this one. That brings us to quite a unique situation here. We got back-to-back instrumentals, and I don't think I've ever seen any band do that. Have you?
No.
Solitude to me is kind of like a longer version of Enter the Realm.
Right, I get what you mean.
It kind of does it. It's weird how that goes into Funeral. Like I said, I'd like to, and I'm sure we didn't talk about this. I wonder what the thought process was going from that to that.
Now, the question I have is that could either of those songs, can you envision them with lyrics and with vocals? Are they structured in a way where they could be a song, or are they just them just going crazy with riffs and ideas and just being a big mashup of crazy riffs and that?
I've seen where people on YouTube have tried to like add lyrics to instrumentals, and it's always just weird. I don't know. I think Funeral is the way better song.
I agree.
Solitude to me is by, and here we are fan booking again. If I'm putting together the first perfect album, I'm switching Iced Earth to 7th. I'm putting Colors at 2nd, and I'm putting Enter the Realm at 1. I'm totally removing Solitude and putting Winter Nights there. I don't know why.
You mean Nightmares, right?
Nightmares. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they had to have two instrumentals. I don't know whether it was those were the songs that, I don't know. It's weird to have two of them back to back. I don't know.
I do agree with Randall that they should have just kept what they had with Enter the Realm and just added to it rather than re-recording the stuff, because the stuff on Enter the Realm, I think the production quality is better. I think Gene sounds better on the Enter the Realm demo myself, personally. But it is what it is. I do think it's strange that they didn't do Nightmares, because I think Nightmares is really good. And they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I like Funeral a lot. Solitude, if I'm listening on my headset, I'd probably skip that one, to be honest. And that brings us to the final track, the epic. When the Night Falls. I'll start this one. I know you talked about how you liked Matt's intro in Life and Death. I prefer the faster intro to When the Night Falls. Just when I hear it, I like I just like the quicker one. I think it's maybe because I listened to the Purgatory version so many times before I got to the original. I like both. I thought that Stu killed it too on the Dystopia tour.
Definitely, yeah.
And this it troubles me. You have easily 4 or 5 songs that could be staples in their set list, and last tour they had 0. I mean, I know it's harder when you got the 12. When you start getting over 10 albums, but there's a good solid 4 tracks here that could be on any live show. So When the Night Falls, what are your thoughts, Jason?
This is probably my second favorite song on the album. So Curse of Sky, When the Night Falls, probably Iced Earth is my third favourite, sorry. Then probably Colours after that. But yeah, When the Night Falls, I still think this is the best version of it. I like the softer intro, the build up into the dun 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 part. I think it works. Again, this is the first. This is the original version that I heard, so I know it nostalgically with that softer part at the beginning. I think Gene's version is better than the Matt version. I know that Matt's version's got more of a quote unquote singable chorus where they kind of drag it out when the night falls. But I like the more savage kind of just like when the night falls.
Yeah,
I just think it works a bit better. I think. So
I think it's cool to have both.
Yeah,
I feel like having both.
Yeah.
It's
options is always good, right?
It's kind of the first epic to me, and it's probably I go back and forth between Life and Death and Iced Earth, and When the Night Falls is my favorite. It's such a darn good track, and it sounds amazing. What a way to close out the album. Such a song. I mean, in today's standards, 8 tracks, like what is that, an EP? But, back then, a lot of the metal CDs were 7 to 9 songs.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the norm back then. But what a closer. They couldn't have picked a better closer. It sounds phenomenal. Like I said, I like the quicker intro, but, I like them both. So, When the Night Falls. Now, do you have a favorite? So, is your green one, the cover, your favorite album artwork?
I like the 2002 reissued one.
So the blue. Okay.
Yeah, that one. That's my favorite artwork.
Cool. Now, you want to get into our collections before we do our feedback from the community?
Yes, why not, sir? Why not?
I'll let you do yours whilst I pull up our community page.
So when it concerns the CDs, I have all 3 cover variants. So I've got the North American Falling Angel, which Chuck was talking about, which is cool to have. I've looked for this for a very long time, so it's really cool to actually grab it finally. Got the European green one, the European. It's really cool, and obviously like just showing it, but the 2000. I keep getting confused. 2002, 2001. She doesn't say on the back of this. 2002, yeah, it does. Okay, yeah, so 2002 cover art. I've also got the Slave to the Dark version as well.
Nice.
That's such a cool box set, man. Such a cool box set. Cassettes, I've got the North American on cassette and the European.
That was in your box set, right?
No, this is just the original
Okay.
Cassette release. I've got the cassette box set here,
Okay.
which obviously was reissued.
Not forget, does that have a title?
What?
The box set, does that have a title?
1990 to 1996 cassette collection.
Okay.
It's not original at all. It's not creative at all. The interesting part, I've just destroyed them all. The interesting part about this is that you've got the what do you call it, the European artwork on them, the reissue. They're on a white cassette, which I would have chose green myself, but that's just me. But it comes with a little postcard, not a postcard, but a little kind of like art card. And the art card is the North American artwork, which is strange. So they don't really match, which is very strange. I felt that was a bit strange. Eagerly awaiting a sequel to this box set. Really want a sequel.
And I'm going to venture sideways here real quick. Do you think the stuff like that John doesn't mention on the Iced Earth page is more so just the stuff that he doesn't have anything to do with. Like all those singles,
I
there's no mention of it at all on the Facebook page.
I 100% think that is the case. I think it's just literally, I think it's Century Media or Sony now, because Century Media is kind of a subsidiary to Sony. I think it's Century Media literally just like reprinting it, or just trying to grab cash grab as they can. This was a Flogger Records exclusive, and I think it's just they got the rights, they got the distribution rights for it, and they were able to release it. That's all. I don't. If it was something John was behind, you would see big advertising and marketing for it.
Like Enter the Realm or the
Live in Athens, or the
Demons reissues. Those were all over the Facebook.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know,
So
these vinyl singles in that box set, I never seen it anywhere.
Yeah, these are just capitalizing on people like me. So
well, I don't mind them because, you know, and that's been a discussion in the group page, is, you know, the cash grab. I don't mind them because, you know, I didn't need it, so I didn't get it. I think it's cool that if you like cassettes and you don't want to pay the higher premium for what some of these cassettes can go, it's nice to have them brand new.
I thought all my cassettes, except for the original Enter the Realm, were reasonably priced. I thought.
Okay.
You know.
Now, are you going to show any of your vinyls, or are you just showing CDs?
I do have vinyls. I have 2 copies of the vinyl, both 2015 reissue. One's black and one's green. I'm not even going to get them out. They look both the same. I can't remember which is which, but you know, I've just got 2 copies of that. One's green, one's black. Can't be asked to get them out. So I do apologise. And just to round it up, because we did mention this earlier. The Dark Genesis box set, it comes with it as well. So
I remember being so stoked to finally get to hear Enter the Realm, because it was just a mythical legend back then. You know, a piece of music I would never get to hear.
The coolest thing about this, for me, is this was one. I think I got, my memory's all over the place though. I think I got a copy of the debut album. I forget. No, my friend ripped a copy of the debut album on cassette, and then for my 15th birthday, he got me this for my birthday. So this is the first thing that I ever received. That was first thing I owned, Iced Earth. This is not the same one, because my one that I used to have just fell apart because I just didn't look after my shit when I was a kid. So I don't have that, but I rebought it, a nice clean version. I also have another version which is a misprint version, which is each disc has got an artwork on it that isn't that album. It's all mixed up, but I didn't get that out, so I thought, what's the point? But yeah.
Okay, so I didn't get out all my stuff. I just got some pieces about the vinyls. They're in my case, so I didn't want to get them out. This is the original version, still sealed.
Nice.
So that was gifted to me from David E. Bell. So that's cool. And I've showed pictures of these in the groups, but these are my prides and joys. These are my framed self-titled.
That's cool, man.
Signed by all 5.
Who the fuck? Yeah, I don't know anyone else that's got.
And I've never seen that before. I've never seen this signed by all 5 by anybody. And if you like that, I took this off the wall. Also, this is the other version, and it's also signed by all 5. And these are like 2 of my favorite pieces in my collection.
Do you have the green one also signed?
Yeah, and I have them, but I was afraid to send too many out that they would get messed up.
Oh, okay.
So I have it, but it's only signed by Randall and Gene. So these were my favorite two.
Hmm.
So these are the two I got. So
That's cool.
those are my two of my favorite pieces in my collection.
That's killer, man.
So
I'm jealous.
So.
I am.
So we're going to go to our community thoughts. We've got a few here to go through. Ed Matthews says, maybe add a portion of playing the music either by CD or record, as I know you both like the form of media. Sometimes you guys discuss what songs you like, and it might be easier if as a refresher. And you answered it. Copyright dinged us. Didn't we do greatest riffs and we tried to put music in?
Yeah, they basically what happened was I tried to, when we did our favourite riffs video, this old video, you still can watch it. I can't remember if I had to. I don't know whether I re-edited it and then put it back up. I can't remember what I did. I don't know whether I touched it, but YouTube. I got a copyright flag by Century Media and by Sony, and basically they were blocking people watching it, essentially. So
I wonder how we get away with our intro. It's not long enough.
What intro? Gene Adam intro.
Yeah, I mean, because you got.
I got Burning Times playing, but I've got Burning Times
speaking for it.
and I purposely made Burning Times be really quiet as I can get away with it. I don't think because remember with YouTube, it's a YouTube copyright bot, so the bot will scan the video and find anything that music companies have deemed you got to flag this. So the bot will try and find sound clips or anything, video clips, anything it can that it's been told is copyright infringement, and it will flag it. So I don't want to risk our videos being blocked by any means, so I don't do it.
So we'd like to have it. I mean, I'd love to say, here, insert that stuff, but for our budget, which is nothing, and, the time, we both work, so we just do this as a hobby. So we do the best we can. But that's a good, fair enough question. I wish we could put stuff like that in. Adam Ortiz says, you already know how much I love this album. My favorite track is When the Night Falls. However, I still think they should have added songs to Enter the Realm instead of re-recording it and bring back Nightmares. Nice. Chris Knott said, I've grown to adore this album. It's become one of my top Iced Earth albums. It definitely has a lot of charm. When the Night Falls is my favorite track as well. The original is the greatest version. Facts. No arguments needed. John Baylor, I love Iced Earth self-titled CD since I ordered it back in '99 with Night of the Storm Riders. And I know he loves Life and Death. Tim Moore said, I think the band should do something special for the 30th anniversary. We've talked about that. We're hoping that John does the remixing of it. Christopher Ellison says, when I first heard it, I couldn't get into the vocals, and it was for the longest time my least favorite, but as I got more into thrash and extreme metal, I learned to appreciate the vocals for what they are, and they actually fit the more raw style. Now the debut is my fourth favorite. So kind of rings what I said. Jamie Moore Marino says, I prefer any other album, and I don't listen to the self-titled frequently, but it's a nice debut and said all the ingredients that would explode later. Fair enough. And the last one we have is Mike Spencer says, it's a great debut. It straddles the line between thrash and power metal. I agree. Although they only use a handful of the songs they'd written at that point, they definitely flow cohesively. I like every song on the album. That was a good closer. Thank you for those. As always, we thank you, the community, for starting chats and all the things that we talk about on a daily basis. So if you only watch this on YouTube and you're not a Facebook member, you are losing out.
Definitely join us join. I don't know how many members we've got. Like 600 of us. I don't know, but they're
We
just.
stayed around 600 the whole time for some reason.
I swear,
Yeah.
we got to like 900, then loads of people just left because people. I think people just invite everybody, and then people are like, I don't want to be in this group, and they just leave.
Sometimes when there's a lot going on, the threads can flood your feeds. So, but all the regulars we have, we appreciate. We love you. We've got a couple minutes. We need to talk Kickstarter. What is your speculations? What are your thoughts about the upcoming announcement in 2 days?
Well,
which will already happen by the time this drops.
They've already kind of put a link to the Kickstarter, so you can go and look at what it is. It literally sounds like it's just going to be a book of interviews and artwork and what kind of led John to the inspirations for lyrics and stuff like that. It's just going to be sounds like it's just going to be an archive of just stuff that what inspires John in the songwriting process and how he comes up with artwork and stuff like that. I'm all for it. Do you think
it'll be something wicked specific?
I'm not sure. I know that they've been using Set to advertise it in that really cool piece of artwork of Set, which is wicked. Yeah. Which is I'm taking it as a lot of original art for this, which is really exciting to look forward to. From what I gather, it's going to be like a proper hardbound coffee table book, which I'm all for. I love my coffee table books.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a soundtrack too.
Interesting.
I don't know. We're going to find out in 2 days. I mean, by the time you watch this, you'll already know. So we're just kind of speculating aloud. What is your guess as far as top tier price? My guess is probably around 100.
I don't know, because you can go as high as you want, really, on Kickstarter. You can have as high. There's people that go high, that go as high as $1,000. But they've got to give they've got to give you a reward. So say the lowest price point is $5. That can just be, you might not get anything physical. It just might go, thanks for supporting, thanks for making this happen, or whatever. They just might send you a personal thank you or something.
Do you think? I'm going to interrupt you. Do you think if you kickstart, will your name be in the book? Because that'd be smart.
Usually with Kickstarter projects, the Kickstarters that help a project come to fruition, they usually are in there's a big list of thank yous. Like, for example, there was a video game announced in 2015 called Shenmue 3. That was on Kickstarter. I kickstarted it. I paid $60 and you're guaranteed a physical game, and your name will be in the credits. And then I didn't get it until last year, so I waited 4 years for it to be developed. And then I received it, got the game. The game wasn't very good, which is tier. And I couldn't find my name in the credits because there was so many people that donated to that game. That they made about $4 million in donations to get the game made. So you have 3 rows of names coming down in the credits, and they're so small I couldn't even see me. So yeah, you would be in the thank yous. If it's a book, it's going to be a lot easier to see yourself. But I'm only guessing that it's going to be like a list of names. It's not going to be anything like, well, thank you so much to Chuck Hoskins. Right. It's just going to be like just a list of thank you to all our donators. It's just going to be a list of names, I reckon.
Now, see, I'm in a Kiss Facebook group called Kiss My Wax. It's about Kiss Vinyl.
That's a cool name. You told me this before. I think that's a really cool name for a group for Kiss. Cool
and name. The guy had put out a Kiss Bible, a 3-thing set. So what he did is he put all the members in the group, put their names in there and thanked them that way. And then said, hey, your name's in the book if you want a copy. And most people are like, yeah, my name's in it, So if John were to take a page and, thank the people that did it, that'd be cool to see your name in the book.
I don't want to toot our own horn, but we might just be thanked anyway. I'm not being a bastard, but he thanked us in the Demons album, and we had nothing to do with that album in terms of it coming together and being produced.
it's cool to see. Like you said, I expect nothing from him, but anything that is well cool.
It's fucking cool, man. It's so cool.
So,
but
I anticipate a tier where there probably will be a T-shirt also. That seems to be one of the phases that's here to stay also.
Well, I've already created a Kickstarter account. I've made it so Kickstarter will notify me when it launches, and as soon as it launches, I'm dropping minimum $100 on it because I want to support as much as I can.
I haven't did it yet, but before the deadline hits, that's tomorrow will be one day, so tomorrow I'll make one.
So it launches Tuesday?
Yeah, because today on Facebook it said 2 days.
Okay, yeah.
So it'll be Tuesday. So I'll have to figure that out tomorrow night and set that up.
I have noticed because I looked through the comments from people that are on the Iced Earth page that don't really know. They don't have the inside, like because obviously we've seen John talk about it. I told him something. Oh, he's got a books coming, book. Loads of people on the Iced Earth page that were commenting on these teasers. Oh yeah, this is coming out. Loads of them were hoping for the Something Wicked novel, graphic novel, and it's not going to be that, right? There's a lot of people being like, "Oh, I'm disappointed. This sounds like trash." Blah blah. I don't know about you, but I'm just really excited for something a bit different. And even Stu commented, didn't he? He kind of shared it, saying like, I don't think any of you are prepared what he's about to release is going to be huge. So even Stu's hyped, and Stu's not even in it. Stu's not even probably got nothing to do with it.
Stu, and also I've seen that Bill Owen commented on Stu's page that said, "Yes, it is Stu," and I didn't ask him, so I'm not going to try to get anything out of him. We only got a couple more days, so
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see. If it's a coffee table book, that's awesome. I'm ready. I mean, ultimately, I want music as soon as possible, but he picked a good time to do something like this. We've got downtime to finish it up and stuff. So I'm curious. I'm excited about it.
Just keep talking. I'm just gonna grab something quickly.
Okay. So yeah, it's with the hopefully with the COVID thing wrapping up more and more, I'm hoping that Stu can come to the United States now and loot, and then put together some kind of EP. What kind of shirt you wearing there, sir?
Oh yeah, for the episode, because it's necessary, my Gene Adam is awesome t-shirt, because it has to be. On the back it's got the old if you can see it. Can you see that? Is that coming on camera? I can't tell.
Yeah, that's cool. I forgot it had that on the back.
Only this one. This was a prototype before I put it on the Redbubble thing. The Redbubble one only has the front print. You still can go and buy that, by the way. It's like we make no money on it. It's literally just like as cheap as it can be, just for people. So if you want the Gene Adam is Awesome shirt, redbubble.com, I think, /podcastingstone, I think. Just go to I haven't used it in fucking ages.
Stone, you can't have any skips. You got to put podcast and stone all one word.
Yeah, I haven't logged in years, in like ages. So
I looked like 6 months ago just to look. I
think they're still on there. I think the Gene Adam is Awesome shirt is up there. I think our official logo with a set. I think that T-shirt is still on there as well. Yeah.
And there's one about Bill Owen's hair or something.
Is that still on there? I don't know if I deleted that or not because I thought it was a bit silly. I think I thought, what's it called? Like Bill Owen's hair is rad. Has rad hair or something silly like that. I don't know what it was. Anyway, we're talking about coffee table books, right? This whole Kickstarter thing, and I'm just going to recommend this coffee table book, which is the art of Axel Herman, and he done some of the early stuff of Iced Earth, and fuck me, Chuck, mate, like you need to get this. It's amazing. Let me try to find. It's a proper. Mate, it's like proper. I paid 20 quid, which is what's that? About $30. But it's just like so cool. I don't know if it's going in fucking frame or not. It's like the coolest thing.
Does he go into like the stories about like John telling him what to draw or anything, or is it just the pictures?
It's mostly just pictures. For the debut album, it's just a picture, but you do have a little like concept artwork for the debut album. That's what it was originally going to look like. Fallen Angel on a Spike.
Oh wow!
Before it was changed to what we know as the demon pushing him down onto a spike. But yeah, the artwork is immense. It's not just a debut album. No, that's what we're talking about today. But he also done the original Night of the Storm Rider artwork, which is immense. I love it.
Yeah, I've seen that
So
tattooed on
good.
people. That's cool.
There is a blurb by John Schaefer about this, about the Night of the Storm Rider artwork. He said it says the first attempt at the Night of the Storm Rider album cover has a difficult story behind it that neither Axel nor I are too fond of. He can explain the details better than I. However, in the end, he delivered one of the best covers of the Iced Earth catalogue. I have the original framed, and it has always found its way into my office or studio regardless of where I'm living around the world. I really love that painting. It does go into further detail about the artwork. It does mention the flying frog artwork, as you know. And it also has this really cool Storm Rider image. I've seen the t-shirt of that.
Yeah.
This is a really high-res image. It looks really cool. Can't tell by the camera. But the actual pictures in here are super high-res. And it's really cool. It's also got, if I can find it, you've seen them all on Facebook, because I did post a lot of pictures from this. But it's got Live in Athens. The Live in Athens is the most extensive. It's got a lot of behind-the-scenes kind of talk, and it's got like concept art that we haven't seen before. I can't see where that is. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's good.
Like really cool concept art. Obviously, it's got the full arts in here, mate. Like seriously, it's not expensive to pick up. It's amazing. It's a really cool like behind the scenes kind of look at, man. It's awesome. I love it. I recommend it.
How's the other art that he did for the other bands? Did you recognize any? Or are they more for lower bands?
Yeah, he done a lot for like death metal and punk and that. Let me have a look. Because I only bought it for the Iced Earth images, to be fair. He done Mystic Prophecy. I don't know who they are. Morgoth. Grand Supreme Blood Court. Asphyx, death metal band, really good death metal band. He did the album cover for their album Death Hammer, which is a really good album actually. If you like your kind of.
Now, can you show that cover again for people that might want to check it out?
What cover?
The cover of the book.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the art of Axel Herman.
Yeah.
You can get that on Amazon. I haven't seen any on eBay yet.
Yeah, it's called From Iced Earth to Sodom. And it's in dual languages. I think he's German. I could be incorrect, but I do believe it's in German and English. So you'll have like, well, in the write up parts when it's written up, you have it in English, then below it it'll have it in German. So it's kind of like dual language, which is quite. I don't see that in books these days, so it's pretty cool. But yeah. If you like your heavy metal artwork and you love Iced Earth and you want to see some of the, you want to read about behind the scenes of some of how they come up with some of the early artwork, this is the book for you guys, man. It's so good. Because I forget who fucking shared it. Who shared it originally? Man, I feel bad.
Was it my buddy Aaron? Was it Aaron in his new Facebook group called Iced Earth Army?
It might have been. I think so. Because he shared it. I'm like, that looks awesome. I want it. And then I just found it on eBay, brand new, £20. Like, boom, ordered it. And the coolest thing about it was, apparently it was meant to have been a paperback, but they sent me the hardback, which I prefer. So I was well happy. So yeah, I highly recommend it. That book's wicked.
Sweet. Thanks for thanks for showing that, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We've got some cool episodes coming up, some fantasy booking, hopefully some interviews coming up soon. Doing some more retrospectives, Pyramaze, and I want to get Witherfall in soon. So we got some stuff in the works. So this has been a fun episode. I love the album, and if we do a 32nd anniversary episode, I'll probably like it even more.
Yep, debut album Iced Earth, 30 years old, almost, not really, but yeah. Again, people, if you're a fan of Iced Earth and you haven't heard the debut album, what are you doing? Go and listen to it.
Yeah.
It's
right now.
Don't. I know a lot of people have issues with the vocals, but product of his time. They're just coming out of the thrash era. Death metal was exploding in Florida. I don't think albums will have sounded the same since. I think it's very much listenable. I think Gene sounds great. It works with the music. It's just riffs galore, man. Like, if you love riffs in metal, how have you not heard this album? Just saying.
Right. It's a great album. I am proud to have several copies of it.
And remember, everybody, Gene Adam is awesome. Yeah. I think he knows as well. He knows he's awesome. Before we go, fun fact. When I was in Florida and I met up with Gene, he did drive me around Tampa and show me that old little kind of like place where they recorded the Colours video and they rehearsed. He showed me that place. We only drove past it. We couldn't have gone in there or anything like that. But
so it's still a storage place, huh?
I'm not sure. I can't remember what you said, but yeah, it's still there. So
cool. That's historic.
Yeah, that was cool. He gave me all the old Iced Earth, road trip sites. So
that's
that was
awesome.
cool. And we went. It's another fun fact. We went to the this old like food shack place. We went there for lunch. Me, my mum, my dad, Gene's wife, and that. We went there to have some food, to have some lunch. And that is the same place where Gene and John reconnected and met each other after 25 years. So that was cool as well. And
That's so awesome.
I had the best sandwich there as well, man. Grouper sandwich. So good. Loved it. Best meal of my holiday. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Thank you everybody for watching as always. Keep watching the videos. Go back and watch the old original video because you might cringe a little, but it's worth it because you got to know where we come from. Anyway, yes, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, punch that subscribe button, like the video, dislike the video if you thought it was shit, but we thought it was pretty good. It's up to you. The dislike button is right there. If you need to hit that, it's fine, but the like button always helps us out. I've been Jason. I've been joined as always by the incomparable Chuck Hoskins. We have been podcasting Stone. Stay safe out there. Shops are opening again where I am, so it's going to be chaos. So I'm staying indoors because I don't want to be a part of the chaos. If you're out
Things
there,
are getting normal here, so you'll be okay.
If you're out there peacefully protesting, stay safe. Don't get sucked into the violence. Again, stay metal because metal lives, my friends.
Yeah.
See you later.
All metal matters.
Yeah, it does. See you later.